What the fuck is up, everyone? It's the Prism Meddler, and yes, I'm back with another album ranking. And today, I'm gonna rank Kreator, which they are a German thrash metal band. Now, a little talk about Kreator, and then we'll move on with the ranking. So, I've been listening to Kreator for a few years. I haven't listened to all of their albums until recently. So, what my thoughts about this band? They're a really great band. A pretty underrated thrash metal band. I think they're one of the most important bands in the thrash community. I don't think they deserve to be in the Big Four, but I think they're a really great band. I actually prefer them over Anthrax, to be honest. Now, but other than that, um, I do think they're a great band. And without further ado, let's just get on with the ranking. Okay, now the worst one at number 14 for me is gonna have to be Renewal. Holy shit, this album is so fucking bad. Mainly the vocals, Millie's vocals. It sounds like James Hetfield is getting fucked in the ass by this big red fucking fist. Oh my god. Or yeah, it's just terrible. It sounds cringy when he tries to sound like James Hetfield, and I hated the Kreator's industrial era. It just doesn't sound good to me. I don't even. I'm glad they're not doing that anymore. To me, it's just flat out garbage. However, there's two decent songs on this album. I'll admit, and these songs are Renewal and Karmic Wheel, because it doesn't have this James Hetfield's wannabe sound and as bad. Well, it does have it, but not as bad as the other songs from this album. That's kind of why I kind of find this one a bit decent, but it's nowhere near my favorites. And so, yeah, Renewal is easily their worst album, in my opinion. So, ignore this one. Okay, now at 13, I have Cause for Conflict. Now, I know many people would usually put this as their worst album. For me, I'm not a big fan of this album. I don't like this album either. But I do have to say this album is a bit better than Renewal, because it doesn't have that fist fucked James Hetfield sounding voice. Um, that's why I had to put this album above Renewal. But I do feel like it has a bit more industrial sounding than their Renewal album, and it does return to its thrash roots, but not exactly. Many of the songs on there are just very uninspired, and I just don't really care for none of them. But it may have a slightly chance of making it higher because of its thrash sound. I don't know, but for now, it just has to be my second least favorite. I just don't really care for that album. Now, next up at 12, this album might be a lot higher than the future, but for now, I'm going to keep it where it is for now, and that is going to have to be Indorama. Um, yes, a lot of people hated this album, and I could understand why. Um, but for me, um, the reason why I said this album does has a possibility of ranking it higher is because mainly the production on this album. As y'all may know, this album is mainly goth metal, and they completely abandoned its thrash sounding. It's a very gothic album, um, but most of the songs kind of reminds me of the softer era of Megadeth for some reason. As you may know, Millie Petroza has this Dave Mustaine sounding voice, and I don't really think this album is that bad at all. But for now, I just had to put it lower, as low as it is. Now, there's a few songs I do enjoy, like Golden Age, Endorama, featuring Tilla Wolf of Lacrimosa, which they are a gothic band. I'm not too familiar with that band. In case you're deciding if I want to do an album ranking, I might, maybe not. I don't know. I don't really know this band. So, yeah. Now, Everlasting Flame, that is a very creepy song to me. It's kind of like Exodus's Architect of Pain a bit. It's like their Architect of Pain. That's kind of what reminds me of. Um, Future King, that's a decent one, and Tyranny. But the rest of the song may grow into me. Like I said before, this album does has a possibility of being higher, but for now, I just have to put it at number 12. All right. Next up at 11, I have Outcast. Um, Now this album is a bit like Renewal, but a million times better. It doesn't have that cringy James Hetfield voice, but it does has a possibility of Endorama topping that album. But for now, I'm just gonna put it where it was on my list. But this album is actually fairly decent. Yes, I know it's industrial sounding, but it doesn't really bother me as much as Renewal and Cause for Conflict, though. And it does have some kick-ass songs too, like Phobia. That's a kick-ass song. So is Nonconformist. Out the title track. That's a good one. And a Better Tomorrow in Whatever It Takes. This is actually a fairly decent album, but it's nowhere near my favorite, and I just don't really go back to it as much. But for now, it's at number 11 for me. I think I put it at 11. Yeah, it's at 11. All right. Sorry, guys. All right. 10, I have Gods of Violence, their recent album. Sounds like a typical Kreator album to me. Nothing really new, but the production is amazing, though. I'm not gonna lie. Um, but it kind of reminds me of their previous album, Phantom Antichrist, for some reason. And yeah, I do think this is a really solid album, but it's nowhere near their best. It does has amazing songs like World War Now, Satan is Real, Gods of Violence, Army of Storms, um, Lion with Eagle Wings, and the final track, Death Becomes My Light. Definitely a very solid album. I think this is their first album in 5 years. A great return album. Just a little. It looks like it's a little bit overhyped, but yeah, it's nowhere. It's nowhere near their best, and I just think their other albums are better. Okay, number 9. This may piss y'all off a bit, but it does have a chance on ranking it higher. I do see of it ranking it higher, but for now, it's going to have to be Violent Revolution. Um, my first reaction to it, I kind of caught off guard and think about something else. But I do think this is a real return of Kreator. Like I said, this album does have a chance on ranking it higher along with Endorama. But it does have some really great songs like Reconquering the Throne, Violent Revolution. That's a kick-ass song, by the way. Servant in Heaven, King in Hell, Ghetto War, Replicas of Life is probably my favorite song from this album. Bittersweet Revenge, and System Decay. But yeah, like I said before, possibility of ranking it higher, but for now, I have to put it at number 9. Okay, number 8, I have Hordes of Chaos. Um, yeah, this album was released on my birthday, January 13th, 2009, which I was 12 at the time. Um, and my my bit problem with this album is that it's a bit too short, but it's a really great album. A lot of great songs on there. Hordes of Chaos, one of my favorite Kreator songs. War Curse is a great one. Amok Run is a kick-ass song. Radical Resistance. To the Afterburn is definitely a catchy chorus song. And the last track, Demon Prince. But definitely a great album. I feel like kind of it's like old school '80s thrash metal for this album. So yeah, if you're into like Return to Roots thrash album, you definitely want to check this album out for sure. Okay, number 7, I have Phantom Antichrist. Um, this album may have a chance on putting it up in my top 5, but just for now, I'm putting it at number 7. Um, this is more of their melodic album than their typical thrash albums. It's still thrash metal though. It has amazing songwriting from Millie Petroza. I pretty much like all songs from this album, mainly because of the songwriting. It has more of its progressive and melodic approach for this album. But yeah, if you're into more of that stuff, you would definitely enjoy this album for sure. Has amazing songs. Phantom Antichrist, Death to the World, From Flood into Fire. That's probably one of my favorite songs from this band. Civilization Collapse, The Few, the Proud, the Broken, Your Heaven, My Hell. That's an amazing song. And the closing track, Until Our Paths Cross Again. But yeah, this is a very great album. Um, Definitely want to check this out if you're into like progressive thrash metal sounding. Okay. Um, where am I at? Number 6. I'm gonna pick Terrible Certainty. Um, yeah, it's at number 6. I do think it's a really great album. I just put my top 5 more. Um, I think this album came out not too long after Pleasure to Kill, but probably I think a year after Pleasure to Kill. This album has more of this. It does have a different kind of sound than their first 2 albums. It has more of their typical thrasher sound than their like extreme thrash metal sound, if you know what I mean. But yeah, it has some classic songs like Blind Faith. That's a classic song. Storming with Menace, the title track. I pretty much like all 8 songs from this album, as a matter of fact. I do think this is a really great album. I'm definitely coming back to it, and it's actually at number 6. So yeah, definitely a 1987 thrash classic for sure. Okay, number 5, I have. Okay, I'm just making sure. Okay, number 5, I have Coma of Souls. I think it's their 1990 album. Yeah, that's it. Um, I also enjoy this one a lot. Um, but I do think this is their first release with Frank Blackfire, who is from Sodom. I will be playing Dune Sodom in the future, just so y'all know. But it's not next though. Anyways, yeah. I do think this is a very solid album. I love all songs. Actually, a pretty 90s classic. I don't remember if I put it in my top 10 or not, but it might be. If you're into like this pure thrash metal sound, definitely a 90s 1990 thrash metal. Definitely a good year for thrash metal for bands like for albums like Rust in Peace or Seasons in the Abyss, Persistence of Time. But this is one of the best ones. Um, but definitely a great album. I love all songs. Definitely a classic album for sure. All right, number 4. I pick Enemy of God. This is the best Kreator album in the post 80s era, in my opinion. This sounds more of a return to Kreator than Violent Revolution, in my opinion. I'm sorry, but I prefer this one. This is a really great album, amazing songwriting. It's heavy and thrashy from start to finish. Every song is just perfect. One of my favorites of 2005. Um, this is a very heavy album. And if you haven't listened to this album, you have listening to do. But yeah, this is more the Return to Roots album to me. But yeah, other than that, Enemy of God is definitely at number 4 for me. All right, number 3. I pick their debut album, Endless Pain. This is this is more of a black metal album. And I definitely how creepy sound this album is. Sounds very evil. It's like Slayer's earlier materials, like it sounds more like Hell Awaits and holy shit, I'm a Slayer fan and I can't believe I forgot the title of their debut album. Um, Rain and Blood, Hell Awaits. Oh, Show No Mercy. Fuck. I'm a fucking dumbass. Anyway, now yeah, such a classic album. One of my favorites in 1985. I just love how evil this album is. And half of this album are vocals by Millie Petroza, and half of them are from the former drum. I think that's former or oh, it's he's still in the band. Okay, is he still? I don't know if he's still in this band or not. Oh yeah, he's still in this band. Okay, drummer Jurgen Ventor, I believe that's his name, or Jurgen Real Ventor Real. I can't pronounce his name. But yeah, he performed half of it, and the other half is from Millie Petroza. I really think this is a class. This is definitely a classic album. One of my favorites of all time. I strongly adore this album. Very strong debut for them. All right, guys. Number 2 is gonna have to be Pleasure to Kill. Now, I know many of you put this at number 1, but this is actually a back and forth between that and the other album that I'm gonna mention in a bit. But yeah, Pleasure to Kill. Holy shit, this is an evil fucking album. It's like Rain and Blood. It's like Rain and Blood, Slayer's Rain and Blood, and Hell Awaits mixed together. And it's a classic album. One of the best albums in 1986. That's how great this album is. If you're like Slayer's Rain and Blood, Hell Awaits, or Show No Mercy, you will love this album. This is, or even Exodus, Bonded by Blood. If you're in like this extreme, violent thrash metal type albums, you will love this one for sure. So yeah, such a masterpiece album from start to finish. It's perfect. Um, but it's at number two. But this is pretty much a back and forth though. Okay, now number one, my favorite Kreator album is gonna be Extreme Aggression. Holy shit, this album is fucking amazing. It's definitely amazing songwriting, the guitars, the drummings, everything. Now, this is a back and forth between this album and Pleasure to Kill. What I love about Extreme Aggression is the songwriting, the production, the drumming, all of it. And what I love about Kreator, well, you get what. Well, I already explained it before. It has this evil sounding, but this one, I think this is their first album as a quartet. I believe it has four members instead of three, and I think it fits well perfectly with this album. And yeah, definitely more like an epic type album than its violent, evil album like Pleasure to Kill. It's like two different sides of this band, as y'all may know. But yeah, I fucking enjoy this album. Definitely a thrash metal classic. Probably my favorite thrash metal album in 1989. It's either that or Testament's Practice What You Preach. But yeah, amazing album. I fucking love it. You have to listen to this album to be a thrash metal fan. That's the way it is, guys. I just love this album. Okay, guys, that's my ranking for Kreator. Now, my next album ranking, um, I was gonna do Mudvayne next, but I kind of want to do Pantera next. Sorry, Marka Punk, if you're watching this, I want to do Pantera before I do Mudvayne. So, I actually grew up with Pantera, just so y'all know. I know I've done one last year, but that's just the Phil Anselmo era. And now I'm doing the one with all albums instead of just a certain era. So yeah, be prepared. Pantera is definitely next. So yeah, and then I'll do Mudvayne. I promise I'll do Mudvayne after Pantera. So if you enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to me if you haven't, and click the bell of the notifications, and let me know what's your ranking on Kreator. I want to know your opinion. So until then, I'll see y'all next time, and peace out.